A bill that would make Missouri the fourth state to ban Medicaid reimbursements to Planned Parenthood is on its way to the governor.
Today, the Missouri House approved legislation that would end Medicaid reimbursements to any health centers affiliated with abortion providers. Democrats who argued against it say the state's health care safety net did not support or could not support the thousands of Medicaid patients who could be displaced from Planned Parenthood for procedures like contraceptive care, STI testing, cancer screenings, and wellness checks. Planned Parenthood does not provide abortions in Missouri, but it's affiliated with the organization's clinics in other states that do.